What's up, everyone? It's your boy NornRad89 here, bringing you another video. For today's video, I wanted to go over my entire Arrow Video collection. Arrow Video is one of my favorite boutique labels in terms of the content and quality of stuff they put out. I have a very modest collection. It's not huge, but a very nice modest collection. I've only been recently re-picking up collecting again over the last year. So like I said, this is just my favorite boutique label, and I have the most of their stuff compared to Shout Factory or Vinegar Syndrome or any of the other ones. I definitely have the most Arrow. So like I said, today I wanted to go over these titles. So let's get to this video. Roll it. Like I said in my intro, Arrow Video is my favorite boutique label, and today we're going to go over the whole collection, starting with the steelbooks. I only have a couple steelbooks, not crazy amount, but here we go. Weird Science, one of my favorite 80s comedies. You know, John Hughes was just the king of 80s comedies, and what he did was badass with this film. For real, every nerdy, geeky friends, pair of buddies, they dream about the perfect woman and creating her on a computer, and the scene where they're wearing the bras on their heads. There's just Bill Paxton is epic in this movie. So yeah, it's just a really great film, Weird Science. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend checking that out, especially if you love 80s comedies. Next up, we have the Wild Things steelbook. Freaking gorgeous. Look at these. Look at all four of them. They've never looked so beautiful in their lives. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Wild Things, a fabulous film. This is one of those films that in terms of adult, more mature content, this is one of those first films I got into that delved into scandals and plot twists and really crazy character development stuff. So yeah, this film, pretty much at a very young age, I probably shouldn't have been watching this movie, but it was the first film that really got me into stuff like Pulp Fiction and other kind of movies, more serious content type films. Now we're on to the limited editions and special editions and stuff like that. And right now we have the Giallo Yellow Essentials. They have a red and a black edition that have also different movies in them. This has 3 films in it. We have Torso, What Have They Done to Your Daughters, and Strip Nude for Your Killer. So yes, they're all classic, really good Giallo films for me. I had fun with all of them, but this might be a hot take. Torso is my least favorite out of the 3 in this box set. But Giallo is just a cool Italian style that 80s slashers borrowed a lot of, homages and a lot of tricks from Giallo films. So if you like 80s slashers, definitely dive into some old school Italian Giallo films, because you're going to see a lot of the stuff that 80s slashers borrowed from them. Next up, we have John Landis's American Werewolf in London, the greatest, the greatest werewolf movie out there. I love the comedy in this film. There's really good comedy in this film, but I like the love story at the center of it. That's probably my favorite thing about this film, and the special effects and practical effects off the charts. The kills are great, for real. American Werewolf in London is just a badass. This is such a great release because this is one of the limited editions. It comes with lobby cards. It comes with a little booklet with writings on the film, a poster, which the poster I have hanging up in my bedroom. So you can tell this is one of my favorite movies. So yeah, I love the box sets they do. Arrow puts out amazing box sets. Now we're on to another one. Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes, and this might be a hot take, but I do enjoy this film better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just like the vibe of this film, the very gritty nature of this film. It's very grimy, very raw and rough, and I love that. And I like the desert setting, the actors and actresses in this film, that just the cinematography, everything about this film is very raw, feels very real, and can be scary too if you watch this film late at night, especially at a young age. You can get pretty scared by this movie. But yeah, Wes Craven was doing really cool, inventive stuff when he did Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes. Just raw, crazy stuff in filming. Now we're on to Dario Argento's The Cat o' Nine Tails, and I believe this was the film he did right after The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. This is part of his Animal trilogy that he did. And The Cat o' Nine Tails, this is not a slight against this movie, but it feels the least like a Dario Argento film when I watch it. It just doesn't really feel like a Dario Argento film, but that's not a slight against it. But we get to find a lot of stuff. This has to do with conspiracy theories and murder and investigations. We have a blind man who overhears some incriminating information, and him and his I believe it's his granddaughter and a news reporter have to tackle these mysteries and try to discover what's going on. And it's very scandalous, got a lot of plot twists and stuff. And it takes a while to take off, but that third act, I think, is very potent, and the landing spot is pretty good. Now we're on to the Blu-rays, just the regular standard Blu-rays, 4Ks and stuff like that. Those are all the special editions, steelbooks and everything. Takashi Miike's Audition, and this is one of those movies, if you were to give up about an hour into this movie and just stop it, you would not know how this movie is going to end, because the next half of the movie is nothing like the first fucking half of this movie. It definitely plays out more like a rom-com, and in terms of J-horror, it's a very well-known film. And like I said, the first hour, rom-com. Second, hour or so, all horror stuff. And this lady right here, fabulous performance. And the body horror and the graphic imagery that we get into is just, it's memorable. This is one you're going to remember forever. Once you watch it, you're never going to forget this movie. Next up, we have Vin Diesel in Pitch Black with the slip. Look at this slip. I like the night and day slip. This is freaking awesome, dude. See what I mean? What Arrow Video's putting out. Pitch Black, Riddick, Chronicles of Riddick, all that stuff. This franchise, this genre, I pretty much like just Pitch Black and Vin Diesel's performance in this film. So I consider this the only film in that universe. I don't like any of the other stuff that they tried to do. But this one I liked. It has this play on Aliens almost, but the planet they land on and how it has the three suns and there's a red and blue side and the colors and the hues in this film. The cast, I actually find the cast in this film very enjoyable. So yeah, Pitch Black is a sci-fi horror that I often return to because it's just so much fun. It's just a badass film, and I think the characters in this have good character arcs in them, and there's good chemistry between all of them. So yeah, if you haven't seen Pitch Black, go do yourself a favor and watch this movie. Next up, we have Deadly Games, and I think it's kind of funny, this dude right here on front kind of looks like Tom Atkins right here, but it's not. But Deadly Games right here, fun, kind of crazy slasher, but it almost feels like it's two movies in one. I gave this film a 6 out of 10, mainly because it feels like two movies in one trying to clash with each other. There's a romantic element in this film, and then there's a slasher element, and the romantic element hits around the second act, and it really takes away from the tension of the thrills and the kills that are going on in this film. But it's still a pretty okay film, and I was happy to get an Arrow Video, like I said, with the slip. And slashers, I'm a sick slasher fan, so even if it's a mediocre good slasher or a crappy slasher, I'm still gonna get some enjoyment out of it. Next up, we have Hell High, and this is a slasher also that came out probably, I think this was 1989 when this came out, and I think the director of this film only did this film. This is his first and last movie, but it's got a good cast, this young cast right here of these people that torment this teacher and kind of drive her crazy. We spend a lot of time with them, and this is a beautiful slip too by Arrow Video, and there's your reverse part. And yeah, it does take a little bit to take off. Like I said, we spend a lot of time with these kids and these kind of showing you what it was like in the late 80s and how, kids are very influential. And especially if you have a lead kid who's bad and is, doing very evil things, he can influence the group of kids around him to do fucked up things too. So yeah, it has a lot to say, social commentary type stuff on what was going on back then. But yeah, it's just a film that takes a little bit to take off, but the third act is money. And yeah, we got some pretty decent kills in this film. Next up, we have Kevin Smith's Mallrats. Kevin Smith, I'm a huge fan of Kevin Smith. Mallrats, Dogma, Clerks 2, all great films, but Mallrats is one of my favorites. This is kind of like Friday or Next Friday. It's just a hangout film at a mall with some crazy characters, and these are all wild people, but I feel like I've met actual people like this in my life, and I know people like this. So that's why I like this film, is because Kevin Smith was able to just capture so many different varieties of characters and put them in the mall, which is a very popular setting back then. In the 90s, everybody was all about the malls. So it's a really good film, and the comedy still lands for me today. Next up, we have Brian Yuzna Society, 90s body horror, crazy film. Also got some good comedy and some good cheese in it, but that money shots that we get to in terms of body horror and that third act, you're not going to forget it. And I know some people will not be able to stomach this film because it's got some wild stuff and stuff that is kind of frowned upon in terms of topics in films, but this film goes for it, and I fucking love that. And Brian Yuzna, I love Return of the Living Dead Part 3 as well. and society has a lot of those elements. Great practical special effects, cheesy acting, but it's an interesting story and it's a very unique story. Next up, we have Larry Cohen's The Stuff. Man, this is straight 80s cheese, kind of almost like a Blob ripoff, but has a lot to say about consumerism and capitalism, and I think that's fabulous. And it does it with this satire kind of comedy style, and I fucking eat this up, like, for real. The Stuff is one of those movies that, like, pretty much like the people in this film, I just eat the stuff up. I just eat it because it's hilarious. Michael Moriarty's performance in here is golden. One of my favorite performances in any horror film ever, because he just goes for it, Michael Moriarty, and really created this character for this film. Next up, we have one of my favorite 70s slashers, and that's Alice, Sweet Alice, directed by Alfred Soule. Stars a very young Brooke Shields, and man, this is a movie, I can't talk and say enough about this film because it's so great. It's a very early Scream style whodunit film, probably even better than Scream in some aspects. Great performances. It doesn't have that meta kind of stuff going on in the script, of course, like Scream, but performance-wise and some of the kills and the content that they're trying to tackle in this movie, man, it's badass. And I love this cover. Like, this yellow right here is the freaking pimp. I love this. And like I said, so good. Got a lot of good content. One of those films that every time I watch it, I feel like I get a little bit more out of this movie. Last but not least, that was my Arrow video collection. But last but not least, like I said, Dead End Drive-In. 80s oozes the 80s. If you love the 80s, this is going to be right up your alley because the costume design, the production design, the cars, everything, it just oozes 80s. It also has a very Mad Max style, like dystopian style feel to it, as we follow a couple that gets trapped at a drive-in, and it's kind of like just like prison. Like, you check in and you don't check out, and there's like little cliques and gangs going on in the drive-in, and they kind of have to figure out a way to escape or figure out a way to socialize and become part of this crazy drive-in. So yeah, Dead End Drive-In completely surprised me. It was so much fun. I checked this out on Tubi for free first, and then after I watched it, I was like, freaking Arrow Video's got a release of this. I'm gonna pick this bad boy up. So yeah, Dead End Drive-In, fantastic. And like I said, that is my Arrow video collection. Like I said, nothing crazy huge, a very kind of small time, modest collection, but I can't wait to pick up more. Like, I want to get the black and red editions of the Giallos. I want more of the limited editions like this. Like, they even have a Last House on the Left one, but I missed that one, and it's really, really pricey online now if you want to pick it up. So some of these Arrow Video, they get very pricey, especially if you don't pick it up right away on the go. But I'm happy that this is my collection. I got some awesome stuff here. So hope you guys enjoyed this video as we talked about my Arrow video collection. And if you got videos or you got Arrow stuff, tell me in the comments. Let me know. I'll go check out your videos and all that kind of stuff because, like I said, I love this boutique label and I greatly appreciate them. And anybody who supports them, I'm going to support you and stuff like that. Thanks for sticking around with me all, for checking out this video, but be sure to like and subscribe so you get more videos like this because we're going to be having a lot of other content coming pretty soon. But most importantly, have a safe and happy day, everyone. Peace out.